Welcome back. We have several developments in the January 6th probe, as well as broader accountability for attacks on American democracy. I can't remember a night where I've had this many things to go through with you, so here we go. Tonight, there are House contempt votes for Trump aides. That's the same type of vote that led to Steve Bannon's indictment. He now awaits criminal trial. There's new heat on Jared Kushner. He will now testify Thursday, we're learning, for the first time in this kind of probe, based on a voluntary agreement with the January 6 investigators. And there's a new judicial ruling against Donald Trump. So we will go more in depth on that right now. Donald Trump was recently spared, you may recall, in that criminal probe into his business in New York, the DA here pausing the whole thing. Now, totally separate issue, not business, but democracy. A judge is bearing down on Donald Trump's potential criminal liability for election crimes, finding it is likely that Donald Trump corruptly attempted to obstruct Congress on January 6th with a plan that was obviously illegal. Now, if that judge is right, why would Donald Trump be motivated to hide and obstruct the truth about what happened that day? Well, there's evidence that Donald Trump and his top aides could be tied to other illegal parts of January 6th. In other words, we all know there are things that are legal, like giving a speech, even if you lie in it, and there are things that are illegal. People in trouble for trespassing, battery, sedition. But no one in the Trump White House has been charged with that kind of stuff. What we're talking about goes beyond the rallies or the election certification, which is why the committee says it wants to hear from Trump White House aides under oath. And now tonight, two of them who've been resisting will face contempt votes. In fact, that's going to happen within the next hour or so, which brings us to something else I need to update you on. New details that we're getting is basically when you have a situation like this, that somebody's defying a subpoena, the House, if it wants to go further and punish them or get them potentially indicted like Bannon, the House has to make a formal written case against some damning evidence against these aides. Now, the people defying it are one, Dan Scavino, a White House digital aide, and two, a White House advisor who is tightly linked to the broader plots to overthrow the election, Peter Navarro. You may remember him. He's the advisor who backed Donald Trump's multifaceted effort to somehow stay in power. And he backed it to the very end, even as other aides and lawyers kind of pulled away. Mr. Navarro has admitted that he plotted for that goal. His own aide was caught helping an Oval Office meeting that pushed a thwarted plan that was trying to get the military to help with the Trump coup. That would be completely illegal. Giuliani said it would land them all in jail. And on that one item, Navarro basically disclaimed any knowledge of it, while on the other stuff, he's admitted a lie. So when I say it's new information, I'm referring to the fact that the House has gone over the evidence to make the case that he should be held in contempt. And they have this new evidence that on January 6th, Navarro had multiple calls with Steve Bannon, including during and after the attack on the U.S. Capitol. I'm going to read that again. That is a big statement right there. Evidence newly released showing they had this contact going during and after the criminal attack on the Capitol, which is important because it adds context to how Navarro was keeping in touch with his co-plotter, the now indicted Bannon, to try to use, abuse, or potentially criminally deploy those House proceedings on January 6th to somehow overthrow the whole election. He admitted part of this right here on The Beat.
The plan was simply this. We had over 100 congressmen and senators on Capitol Hill ready to implement the sweep. The remedy was for Vice President Pence, as the quarterback in the Green Bay sweep, to remand those votes back to the 6 battleground states.
Do you realize you are describing a coup? Send legal votes back to the states so the person who lost can stay in power. Coup. So after that interview, investigators took more interest in Mr. Navarro. And after he got hit with the very subpoena that led up to tonight's contempt vote, he did return to The Beat, and credit to him for taking questions. We always go to the sources when we can. We want to bring you all the evidence, and you make up your own mind. So he came back, and then he proclaimed to me that he would not honor a lawful request to discuss the very topics he kept outlining on TV. Now, that's not a good legal argument. It's his right to try it and see. The courts will ultimately determine this. The DOJ decides whether to charge or not. But I can tell you it is not a standard or traditional way to try to say something secret privileged and then talk about it in public, or in this case, in public in front of a live TV audience. Now, that's me saying that, but I will tell you this very point is also in the new contempt report from the House committee, which states, quote, Navarro appeared on national television discussing subjects that were the focus of the subpoena, which he's defying. And that statement footnotes and cites his February 10th appearance on The Beat on MSNBC. In that appearance, Navarro was divulging details about his, quote, sweep, but also noting that he simply would not comply with the committee requests, even if, as I raised it in the question, he might face possible contempt or indictment. Why risk a legal battle or going to jail to refuse to discuss them with the committee under oath?
The president has invoked executive privilege. It's not my privilege to waive.
Do you understand that you've already waived it by discussing it? They want under oath. And number two, finally, Peter, are you prepared to risk indictment for defying the subpoena?
I'll stand tall on this.
Navarro doubling down on his stance last night that we heard in that interview. He said, if Trump waives the privilege, I'll be happy to comply. If the committee tonight approves the report, it will be sent to the House, who will then vote on whether to recommend the DOJ, the Justice Department, indict Mr. Navarro like it indicted Mr. Bannon for the same contempt. Bannon and Navarro. There's no debate, no denial that they work together for what they call a sweep, but that looks a lot like a coup. And now, within the next hour or so, the second of the two of them, Navarro after Bannon's indictment, are going to face a vote that could lead to contempt and lead the DOJ and Merrick Garland to have to make a serious decision. There are closer cases. If you watch our coverage, you may recall that I discussed the fact that Mr. Meadows, White House Chief of Staff, has some stronger legal arguments for not cooperating with parts of the committee. Mr. Navarro's arguments are very, very thin for the reasons you just saw, for the words he's shared on this program and in public.